The first time Oliver Reyes saw Damon Hale, he thought two things. First, no one should look that expensive in broad daylight. Second, if he keeps staring at me like that, I might actually forget how to breathe. It should have been an ordinary Tuesday on the NYU campus, students rushing toward classes, coffee lines too long, and the usual sound of skateboard wheels clacking on the pavement. Oliver was late for his economics seminar and jogging across Washington Square Park when a sleek black Bentley pulled up beside the fountain like it owned the entire county of New York. Then again, Damon Hale did own half of it. Oliver didn't know that yet. All he saw was a tall, intimidating man in a dark coat stepping out of the car with the kind of controlled grace that silently screams money, influence, and the kind of childhood where he probably never had to microwave leftovers. Damon's eyes found Oliver's immediately sharp, stormy gray, cool enough to freeze the Hudson. Oliver stumbled, in front of the most gorgeous man alive. His backpack strap slipped off his shoulder, his coffee tilted dangerously, and the universe must have been in a comedic mood because the lid popped off and splattered latte all over his shoes. Smooth, Oliver. Really smooth. He bent down with a mortified curse, but Damon spoke first. "You're Oliver Reyes." It wasn't a question, and that was concerning. Oliver blinked. "Icery, do we know each other?" Damon didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at the spilled coffee, then at Oliver's flushed face, and his expression flickered just for half a second. Something softer, something almost human. Then it vanished, replaced by icy composure. "Get in the car," Damon said. Oliver's jaw dropped. "I'm sorry, what?" "No, I have class. And I'm not just getting into a stranger's. My assistant emailed you." Damon took a step closer, and Oliver swore he could feel cold billionaire energy radiating from him. "I assumed you read it." "I get at least 30 junk emails a day," Oliver muttered defensively. Damon sighed, the kind of sigh that implied the world constantly failed to meet his expectations. "I need 15 minutes of your time. It's a job offer." Oliver stared. "A job offer that involves kidnapping me in your car?" "Not kidnapping," Damon corrected calmly. "Recruitment. That makes it worse." A faint, barely their smirk curved on Damon's lips, almost imperceptible, like he wasn't used to the act of smiling but had decided to try it for science. 15 minutes, Damon repeated. "If you're uninterested, I'll have the driver bring you right back." Oliver wavered. He was broke, like choosing between rent and ramen broke. A mysterious job offer from a man who looked like he owned 3 yachts and at least 1 private jet? Almost too tempting. Almost. "Fine," Oliver said reluctantly. "But if you murder me, my ghost will haunt your penthouse." Damon's brows lifted. "What makes you think I live in a penthouse? You look like someone who collects penthouses." "Fair enough," Damon murmured. And just like that, Oliver found himself sliding into the Bentley's plush leather interior, unaware that he had just stepped into the most confusing, terrifying, and breathtaking chapter of his life. The ride was quiet, uncomfortably so. Damon sat beside him, legs crossed, phone in hand but not really looking at it, as though he were evaluating Oliver in silence. Oliver fidgeted. "So, you said job." Damon finally looked up. "Yes, I'll get straight to the point. I'd appreciate that. I need a boyfriend." Oliver choked on his own spit. Damon continued without blinking. "A temporary one, for public appearances." While Oliver coughed, eyes wide. "I'm sorry, sir, but that's not you, Dante. What?" Damon tilted his head, studying him with unnerving calm. "My board is pressuring me to present a stable personal life. Investors are skittish, journalists are intrusive, and one of my exes is currently leaking exaggerated stories to the media." Oliver blinked rapidly. "Okay, but why me?" "I did my research," Damon said simply. "You're discreet. You have no connection to the corporate world, no desire for fame, and no history of selling private information. You also." Damon hesitated, eyes flickering for the first time. "Photograph well." Oliver's cheeks heated. "So this is just PR?" "Entirely. And you expect me to pretend to date you? Publicly?" Damon nodded. Yes. In exchange, I'll pay you $100,000. Oliver forgot how to think. Are you serious? He whispered. When am I not serious? Point. Cold, terrifying point. Oliver stared at his hands, heart pounding. That amount of money would change his life, wipe his student loans, pay rent for 2 years, maybe even allow him to buy actual groceries instead of meal prepping like he was preparing for a zombie apocalypse. But fake dating a billionaire? A man who looked at people like they were math equations with emotional problems? The idea was insane. Yet, he thought of his mother back in New Mexico working double shifts. He thought of the final notice on his tuition bill. He thought of how Damon Hale's gaze had softened, even if barely, when he spilled his coffee earlier, as if the billionaire wasn't entirely made of ice. Okay, Oliver said quietly. I'll do it. Damon nodded once, satisfied. Good. We'll draw up a contract. Oliver let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Just one thing, he added nervously. I'm straight. Damon looked surprised, but only for a second. Orientation isn't relevant. You just need to play the part convincingly. Right? Oliver muttered. Okay. Fake boyfriends. Totally normal college job. The car turned toward Midtown. Oliver didn't know it yet, but by the time this arrangement ended, nothing about his feelings, his identity, his heart would remain untouched. Damon expected many things from Oliver Reyes. He expected awkwardness. He expected confusion. He expected poorly acted affection in front of cameras. He did not expect Oliver to walk into his penthouse briefing meeting like a small hurricane of nervous charm and genuine warmth and energy Damon hadn't encountered in years. The penthouse was all glass walls, steel lines, and polished marbly, a cathedral of wealth that felt more like a museum than a home. Oliver stepped inside, eyes wide. I feel like I should take my shoes off. You don't need to, Damon replied, leading him toward the living room. Sit. Oliver sat on the very edge of the couch, as though scared he might stain millionaire furniture with his poor boy energy. Damon ignored the faint tug of amusement in his chest and handed Oliver a folder. This outlines expectations, boundaries, and public schedule. Oliver flipped through it. Kissing? He squeaked. It says we might have to kiss? Occasionally, Damon said smoothly. Only when necessary. Public events. Paparazzi. Oliver looked like he might pass out. I didn't think fake dating included actual dating. It doesn't, Damon said. This is performance. Oliver nodded slowly. Okay, I can handle that, I think. I've never kissed a guy before, but it's fine. Totally fine. Absolutely not panicking. Damon fought a smile he definitely shouldn't have. You'll adapt. Oliver groaned softly. I hope so. Then he paused, gaze drifting to Damon's face. You don't smile much, do you? Damon froze. No, he said curtly. Maybe we should practice that. Damon blinked. Practice? If we're supposed to look like a real couple, you need to look like you don't hate me. I don't hate you. You look like you're tolerating a malfunctioning vending machine. Damon inhaled sharply, insulted and faintly amused. We'll work on it, he said dryly. Oliver grinned and the room felt just a little less cold. Their first public appearance arrived faster than Oliver could emotionally prepare for. A charity gala in Manhattan, cameras, flashing lights, society elites with smiles too white and conversations too fake. Oliver stood beside Damon outside the event hall, heart pounding. Okay, he whispered. Okay, we've got this. We're fake boyfriends. Totally normal. Damon placed a guiding hand on the small of his back. Oliver nearly jumped out of his skin. Relax, Damon murmured. It's just for show. Just for show. So why did Oliver's pulse race at that simple touch? The doors opened. Cameras swarmed. Damon slipped an arm casually, confidently, around Oliver's waist, the move so smooth and natural it made Oliver's breath catch. Flash, flash, flash. Oliver followed Damon's lead, leaning close, smiling softly, as though this cold, intimidating billionaire was the one person who made him feel safe. And maybe just a little they weren't pretending. Damon felt it too. When Oliver smiled at him, Something inside Damona Place locked tight for years shifted. Warmed. Cracked. He ignored it. He had to. But the night wasn't done. Inside the gala, a socialite with too much perfume approached. "Damon, darling," she purred. "And who is this?" "My boyfriend," Damon said smoothly, hand tightening on Oliver's waist. Oliver felt that squeeze in his chest. Not fake. Not to him. The woman raised a brow. "Really? He's a bit casual." Oliver flushed. Damon's jaw tightened. "I prefer authenticity," Damon said coldly. "Oliver is more real than anyone in this room." Oliver stared at him speechless. The socialite huffed and walked away. Damon turned to Oliver. "Stop looking at me like that." "Like what?" "Like I said something meaningful." "You did." "No," Damon said too quickly. "It was part of the act." But Oliver knew he just knew that it wasn't entirely a lie. And Damon knew he absolutely knew that Oliver's presence was starting to slip past every wall he had built. This was supposed to be fake. So why did it already feel like the most real thing in Damon's life? Oliver didn't sleep that night. He lay awake in his tiny off-campus apartment, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in half circles, replaying every moment of the gala, every touch, every look, every stupid heartbeat Damon had caused his chest to produce like some malfunctioning drum. Fake. It was fake. Except, nothing about how Damon had held him felt fake. Not the warm weight of his hand. Not the protectiveness in his voice. Not the quiet glances Damon kept throwing him when he thought Oliver wasn't paying attention. Oliver groaned into his pillow. He was in trouble. He grabbed his phone and checked the messages. None from Damon. Why would there be? Damon Hale wasn't the texting type. He was probably already awake, working, breaking hearts, buying skyscrapers, whatever cold billionaires did at dawn. Against his better judgment, Oliver opened Instagram and froze. They were trending. A fan account had captured a video of Damon placing his hand on Oliver's back, guiding him through the crowd like he belonged nowhere else. Another had posted photos, close, intimate ones, where Damon appeared to be looking at Oliver like he was something rare, fragile, and terrifyingly important. The comments were a war zone. "Who is he? I hate him already. That's the softest I've ever seen Damon Hale look. Is this real or a PR stunt?" Oliver wanted to curl up and disappear. Instead, he put the phone face down and exhaled shakily. He had agreed to this. Let the world believe what it wanted. What mattered was that it wasn't real. And maybe if he repeated that enough times, he'd start believing it. Damon barely slept either, which was irritating. He had built his life on control, on structure, on shutting doors the moment emotions tried to creep through the cracks. But Oliver Reyes walked into his orbit and suddenly Damon couldn't remember how to shut anything. He sat in his office at 5 in the morning, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing the quiet Manhattan skyline, and tried to work. He tried reading quarterly reports, reviewing contracts, even distracting himself with a half-finished acquisition deal. Nothing helped. His mind kept circling back to Oliver's expression during the gala. Died. Nervous. Bright. He remembered the way Oliver leaned into his touch when cameras exploded around them, trusting him instinctively. He hadn't expected trust. Not from Oliver. Not from anyone. And that was the problem. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. "Lena. You're trending. Call me when you're awake. Also, that kid is good for you. Don't deny it." Damon closed the notification immediately. Good for him? Ridiculous. He didn't need good. He needed control. Predictability. Oliver was neither. But he was something else. Something that made Damon's chest ache in ways he had forgotten were possible. He stood, grabbed his coat, and headed for the door. He hadn't planned on seeing Oliver today. But some pull he refused to name dragged him toward the university campus. Oliver was in the library, drowning in textbooks and mild panic, when Damon appeared. Not walked, not entered, peered, like a dark cloud of expensive cologne and emotional confusion. Students stared, whispered. One girl dropped her pen so loudly the librarian flinched. Oliver nearly fell out of his chair. "Damon?" he hissed. "What are you doing here?" "Driving myself insane," Damon said bluntly. Oliver blinked. Is that a yes or no to needing help? I need you to come with me. Oliver's heart tripped. Is something wrong? Yes. No. Possibly. Great, Oliver muttered. That clears it up. Damon didn't smile, but something tense in his jaw eased as if Oliver's sarcasm was the only language he understood. We need to discuss the aftermath of last night, Damon said. Oliver winced. We're trending. I noticed. And people think we're actually dating. Damon hesitated. Yes. Oliver rubbed his face. Okay, so, what do we do? Damon's voice dropped, quiet and steady. We move forward with the plan. The plan? Oliver repeated, staring at him. Right? The fake boyfriend plan. Fake. The word echoed painfully in his chest. Damon sat across from him, eyes unreadable. We have a gala next week, a charity luncheon, and an exclusive interview request. I have midterms. Reschedule. I can't just, I'll make it happen. You can't just, I can. Oliver sighed. Damon. Damon went still. If you don't want to continue, say so. Oliver looked at him, really looked at him. At the carefully neutral expression, the tightness around his eyes, the tiniest hint of fear. Fear that Oliver might walk away. Oliver's chest tightened. I'm not quitting, he said softly. Something flickered in Damon's gaze, relief, quickly smothered. Good. Then pack an overnight bag. Overnight? Why? You're staying at my penthouse this weekend. Oliver choked. What? The media is watching us, Damon said. We need consistency, appearances, proximity. You want us to live together? Temporarily. Oliver's brain short-circuited. Living. With Damon Hale. In his penthouse. His too big, too quiet, too clean penthouse. Okay, Oliver managed. I'll pack a bag. But I'm choosing my own toothbrush color. Damon blinked. I'm not aware that was in question. Good, Oliver said, standing quickly before he could think too hard. Because you look like someone who owns only black toothbrushes. I have white ones as well. Oh wow, Oliver deadpanned. How risky. Students around them snorted quietly. Damon shot them a withering look, and the entire table of freshmen suddenly found their notebooks extremely interesting. Oliver, Damon said, voice low. Let's go. Oliver swallowed, because he could handle cameras. He could handle pretending. He could handle acting like he belonged next to Damon Hale. But living with him, that felt like stepping off a cliff with no parachute. Still followed Damon out of the library, and the fall was beginning. Damon's penthouse felt different the second time Oliver entered it. Last time, he had noticed the obvious shiny surfaces, expensive artwork, the faint smell of cedar and something colder, sharper, uniquely Damon. This time he noticed the silence, the loneliness, the way the air felt too still, like no one had breathed in it for years. What? Damon asked when he found Oliver lingering near the entrance. It's just. Oliver shrugged. You live here alone? Yes. For how long? Years. Oliver frowned. Doesn't it feel empty? Damon stiffened. I prefer it that way. Oliver didn't believe that for a second, but he let it go. For now. Damon gave him a room, massive, modern, too pristine. Oliver immediately messed it up by placing his backpack on the bed and dropping his hoodie on a chair. Damon stared at the hoodie like it was a scandal. Do you need help organizing your things? Damon asked stiffly. No, Oliver laughed. I'm good, but thank you. They stood in awkward silence until Oliver cleared his throat. So, what now? Now, Damon said. We establish rules. Oh boy. Rule 1. Public affection must appear natural. Oliver blushed. Okay. Rule 2. We need a consistent story about how we met. Can we say, I ran into you, literally spilled coffee everywhere and embarrassed myself? Because that's accurate. No, Damon said. Something romantic. Oliver's blush deepened. Okay, romantic, right? Rule 3, Damon continued. You must stay close to me during events. The optics matter. Close. Oliver swallowed hard. Got it. And rule 4. Damon hesitated. Oliver raised a brow. What's rule 4? No jealousy. Oliver froze. Jealousy? People flirt with me, Damon said simply. Often. It's inconvenient. Oliver thought of the socialite at the gala. The way she had looked at Damon like he was an exclusive item she wanted back in her collection. His heart tightened. He forced a grin. Jealousy? Not a problem. Damon studied him for a long moment. Too long. Then nodded. Good. But the air felt different. Thicker. Charged. And Oliver knew deep down that jealousy was going to be a problem. A big one. That night Damon cooked. That alone shocked Oliver so much he nearly dropped his phone. You cook? He asked, watching Damon chop garlic with irritating precision. Yes, Damon said. Why is that surprising? I don't know, Oliver admitted. You seem like the type to consider chef knives a liability. Damon rolled his eyes. But there was the faintest hint of pride in his movements, the smallest twitch of his lips. Oliver leaned on the counter, watching. Where'd you learn? Oliver asked. My mother, Damon said quietly. Before she passed. Oliver softened. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. But that doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt. Damon paused mid-chop. Oliver knew he shouldn't say more. He knew Damon hated vulnerability, hated opening even a single window into his past. But Oliver had a terrible habit of caring. You don't have to talk about it, he said gently. But you also don't have to pretend it didn't matter. Damon didn't answer, but his shoulders lowered. Just slightly. They ate together at the kitchen counter. Pasta, fresh herbs, a meal too good for Oliver's taste buds. This is amazing, Oliver said, stuffing another forkful into his mouth. Seriously, I think this is the most expensive tasting thing that has ever existed near my face. Damon blinked slowly. That is quite the description. It's a compliment. Questionable. Oliver grinned. You're smiling. I am not. You almost did. Damon stabbed a piece of pasta like it offended him. Oliver laughed, and something warm unfurled in Damon's chest. Something dangerous. Later, while Damon worked in his office, Oliver wandered the penthouse. He shouldn't have. He knew it. But curiosity tugged him toward a closed door at the end of the hall. A room Damon had never mentioned. A room Oliver assumed was nothing. He opened it. And stopped. Inside was a small, quiet space. Soft lights. A single armchair. Shelves filled with books. But what caught Oliver's breath was the wall of framed photographs. All of Damon's mother. Some with a small boy Damon. Big gray eyes, shy smile, curls too long. He looked happy. Oliver touched the frame lightly. He hadn't expected Damon to have this part of himself preserved. Sacred. Hidden. Oliver. Oliver spun. Damon stood in the doorway, expression unreadable, jaw tight, eyes darker than the room itself. I'm sorry, Oliver stammered. I didn't mean to snoop. The door was open and it wasn't. Oliver froze. Damon stepped forward. Slow. Quiet. Like he was fighting every instinct inside him. This room is private, Damon said, voice low. I know. I shouldn't have entered. I'm sorry. Damon's eyes flickered. Not anger. Something else. Fear. Please don't be angry, Oliver said softly. Damon inhaled sharply like the words hit deeper than they should have. I'm not angry, Damon said. Oliver blinked. You're not. No. Don't bring people in here. Ever. Oliver's heartbeat softened. Then I'll leave. I won't come back. Not unless you want me to. Damon stared at him, really stared, as if seeing Oliver not as a contract, not as an arrangement, not as a boyfriend for show, but as someone he wanted near the parts of himself he kept buried. Oliver, Damon said quietly, you're the only person I've ever let stand in this room. Oliver's breath hitched. Not fake. Nothing about this moment felt fake. Damon stepped closer. Oliver didn't move. Damon's voice dropped to a whisper. Be careful. Of what? Oliver whispered back. Of me. Oliver's pulse raced. Maybe you should be careful of me too. For a moment of fragile, breakable moment they stood inches apart, the air humming with something neither of them could name. Then Damon stepped back. The spell broke, but the damage was done. Nothing between them would ever be the same again. When Oliver finally lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling once more, he knew the truth. He was falling for Damon Hale. And Damon cold, unreachable Damon was falling too. Whether he liked it or not. Damon wasn't the same after that night. He didn't say anything outright. He didn't touch Oliver any differently. He didn't change the rules or the plan. But something in the air between them was different, charged, warmer, trembling with possibility. Oliver felt it every time Damon walked past him. Every accidental brush of shoulders. Every moment their eyes lingered longer than they should. And if Oliver felt it, Damon definitely did. He just refused to name it. But the world didn't wait for Damon to figure out his feelings. The world came crashing into them. It began with a headline. A vicious, sensational, speculative headline. Damon Hale's secret boy toy insider claims relationship is fake, and the student is using him. Oliver found it first. He was eating cereal, perched on the edge of the marble countertop in Damon's kitchen, scrolling through his phone in sleepy disbelief. Then he froze. The bowl nearly slipped from his hands. The article included screenshots, photos of Oliver entering the penthouse, blurry images taken through the lobby windows, and worst of all, a quote from an anonymous source claiming Oliver bragged about manipulating Damon for money. It was all lies. Every word. His heart pounded, sick and heavy. Damon entered the kitchen seconds later, crisp and controlled as always until he saw Oliver's face. What happened? Damon asked immediately. Oliver handed him the phone with shaking hands. Damon took one look. His entire expression changed. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. This is trash, Damon said, voice cold, dangerous. I'll have it taken down. But this wasn't a single article. Within minutes, the story had spread across every social platform. News hosts joked about Damon falling for a college kid with a plan. Comment sections tore Oliver apart like wolves who smelled blood. They called him a gold digger, a liar, climber, a manipulator, a leech. Oliver felt each word like a knife. Damon slammed his phone onto the counter. This ends now. Oliver expected anger, rage, maybe even frustration directed at him. But Damon's eyes held something else. Fear. Not for himself. For Oliver. Pack your bag, Damon said. You're not going to campus today. Oliver blinked. Why? There are paparazzi outside the building. Oliver's stomach twisted. What? Why would they? Because the wolves are out and they smell blood, Damon said. I'm not letting them near you. A lump formed in Oliver's throat. No one had ever said something like that to him. No one had ever protected him like that. But Oliver shook his head firmly. Damon, I can't hide. My classes. I'll speak to the dean. No, Oliver cut in. I don't want special treatment. Oliver, I don't want to run away. Damon exhaled sharply. He wanted control. He needed control. But Oliver needed to live. We'll go together, Damon finally said. I'll get you to campus safely. Oliver nodded slowly, and for the first time since the story broke, he breathed. But stepping outside was a nightmare. The sidewalk swarmed with reporters, photographers, strangers yelling questions that pierced like needles. Oliver, how long have you been seeing Damon? Are you manipulating him? Is this just for money? Did you move into his penthouse to secure a deal? Don't answer, Damon said sharply, one hand firm on the small of Oliver's back. It burned, steadied him. Camera flashes erupted like lightning. You okay? Damon murmured. No, Oliver whispered, voice cracking. Damon tightened his hold. Stay close. Oliver did, because Damon was the only safe thing in that chaos. A black SUV pulled up, and Damon shielded Oliver as they climbed inside. The doors shut. Silence. Oliver finally looked at him. Damon's jaw was clenched so tightly it looked painful. I'm sorry, Oliver whispered. Damon snapped his gaze toward him, eyes burning. Don't apologize. Not for their cruelty. Oliver swallowed. You don't regret this? The deal. Damon's voice softened dangerously. I regret that you're hurting. Not that you're with me. Oliver's breath stuttered. He didn't know what to say. He didn't need to, because the next storm hit before they even reached campus. Oliver's professor confronted him. Not kindly, not gently. Is it true? She asked, voice sharp. You're using a billionaire for personal gain? Do you know how that reflects on this university? Oliver felt cold all over. It's not. I want the truth, she demanded. And Oliver broke. The truth is I didn't ask for any of this. He burst out, voice echoing through the empty lecture hall. I didn't ask for attention or headlines or cameras in my face. I didn't ask to be dragged online or to have my life torn apart because I'm helping Damon. His voice faltered. I didn't ask to feel anything for him either. Silence. His professor stared. And behind her unnoticed until he stepped closer, Damon stood in the doorway. Oliver froze. Damon's eyes weren't cold. They weren't controlled. They were heartbreakingly soft. He had heard everything. His professor retreated awkwardly, mumbling an apology before leaving the room quickly. Oliver thought about running after her. But Damon was already walking toward him. Slow, careful, like approaching something fragile. Oliver, Damon said softly. Don't, Oliver whispered, turning his face away. I didn't mean for you to hear that. I'm glad I did. Oliver swallowed hard. Please don't make this harder than it already is. Damon shook his head. I need to say something. Oliver's chest tightened. Don't. I'm saying it anyway. Oliver clenched his jaw. You're impossible. Only with you. And that was the problem. Oliver sank into the nearest chair. Damon sat beside him, not too close, but close enough. I care about you, Damon said quietly. More than I should. And I know this started as an arrangement. I know it wasn't supposed to be real, but it is. For me. Oliver's heart flipped painfully. Damon. Damon inhaled shakily. If this headlines hurt you, if all of this becomes too much, we can end the public part. I'll protect you from everything I can. But only if you say the word. Oliver lifted his eyes. Hope lived in Damon's. Terrified hope. I don't want to end anything, Oliver whispered. Not with you. Damon exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. And then, for the first time, he reached out with hesitation instead of certainty. His fingers brushed Oliver's. Oliver took the rest of the distance. Their hands intertwined. No cameras. No contracts. No pretending. Just truth. Pure and terrifying. But the world wasn't done testing them. The backlash grew. Oliver became a target for hate online. Strangers dug for his past. A rumor even started claiming he was paid to keep quiet about Damon's secrets. And then came the worst blow. A board member of Damon's company leaked a statement accusing Damon of poor judgment, implying Oliver compromised Damon's credibility. Damon called an emergency meeting. Oliver tried to stay out of it. But Damon walked into the boardroom with him anyway. Gasps filled the space. Gentlemen, Damon said coldly, if you're going to question my integrity, do it to my face. One board member sneered. You're prioritizing a college boy over a multibillion-dollar company. Damon leaned forward, voice like steel. I'm prioritizing honesty. Something you clearly know nothing about. Oliver squeezed his hand under the table. Damon didn't let go. Oliver has done nothing wrong, Damon continued, and I will not allow anyone in this room to scapegoat him for your discomfort with my personal life. It's not personal life, another argued. It's a liability. Oliver felt Damon tense. Then Damon said something no one expected. If Oliver is a liability to this company, Damon said calmly, then I will step down. Silence detonated through the room. Oliver jerked in shock. Damon, no. You can't, but Damon kept going. My mother taught me that no money, no empire, no power is worth anything if you abandon the people you care about. His voice softened on the last words. Oliver's eyes burned. This is unacceptable. the chairman sputtered. You're threatening resignation over a boy. Over a person I care about deeply, Damon corrected. The room fell silent. One by one, the board members backed down. No one was willing to lose Damon Hale. When the meeting adjourned, Oliver pulled Damon into an empty hallway. What were you thinking? Oliver demanded. You can't risk everything for me. You're not a risk, Damon said simply. Oliver blinked hard. You shouldn't say things like that. It's the truth. But, Oliver, Damon interrupted, stepping closer. I'm not losing you. Not because of them. Not because of headlines. Not because of fear. Oliver's breath caught. Why? He whispered. Damon's voice lowered to a vow. Because I love you. The words stole the air from Oliver's lungs. He stared stunned, breathless, every part of him trembling. Damon looked terrified, absolutely terrified, but he didn't take the words back. And Oliver couldn't stop himself. He cupped Damon's face. You idiot, Oliver whispered, smiling through tears. I love you too. Damon's breath shook. And then he kissed Oliver. Not like the gala. Not like a performance. Not like a contract. But like he'd been waiting his whole life for this exact moment. The world could choke on its headlines. Because none of it mattered. Not here. Not in Damon's arms. Not in the truth of it. The backlash slowly faded over the next weeks. People lost interest. Stories died. New scandals took their place. But Damon and Oliver didn't fade. They grew. Together. Their relationship wasn't perfect. Damon struggled with communication. Oliver struggled with self-doubt. Paparazzi still followed them sometimes, and online trolls didn't disappear entirely. But Damon learned to open up. Oliver learned to trust. And they learned each other. Damon learned Oliver talked in his sleep. Oliver learned Damon hid a collection of cheesy romance novels. Damon learned Oliver danced while cooking. Oliver learned Damon hummed under his breath when he was happy. They were messy, human, real. And at night, when Oliver curled against Damon's chest, Damon would play with his hair and whisper things he once believed he wasn't capable of saying. When months had passed, and their lives had settled into something normal and beautiful, Damon took Oliver to the one place he had never brought another person since his childhood. His mother's favorite lake in Vermont. The place he had always saved for the person he would someday love. Oliver realized then he wasn't filling a role. He wasn't a placeholder. He wasn't a lie. He was Damon's beginning. And Damon was his. They lay together on the cabin's old wooden dock as the sun set, painting the water gold. Oliver rested his head on Damon's shoulder. Damon's hand tangled with his. You okay? Damon murmured. Oliver smiled softly. Perfect. Damon exhaled slowly, peacefully. And then, Oliver, he said lightly. Yeah. I'm thinking about buying this lake. Oliver groaned. Damon. What? It has sentimental value. You can't buy nature. Damon smirked. Watch me. Oliver laughed, shoving him gently. Damon tugged him closer. The lake shimmered. The world softened. And Oliver whispered against Damon's jaw. I still can't believe this is real. Damon kissed his forehead. It's the realest thing I've ever had. Oliver closed his eyes. A billionaire who'd been frozen for years. A college kid who thought he'd never be enough. A fake relationship that became the truest thing in both their lives. Love wasn't simple. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't painless. But together it was everything. And in Damon's arms, watching the sun dip into the water as if blessing them, Oliver knew the truth. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning of the happiest part. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.